All right.
If Roger
I,
is, and
Good, I
recording in
am.
progress. So I'd like to welcome our sustaining members, new members, and first-time guests. I know we have at least one first-time guest. Okay. Dual platform users, switchers. You need not be a member to attend, but some of the benefits of membership include free raffle tickets for the super raffle. You could win a $200 Apple gift card. Winner is picked in March, which would be next month. So this is your last chance to enter that drawing. Kurt will be taking attendance tonight, and he will fill in the raffle slips for each of the members. To be eligible, the screen name displayed must match with the record of a current TMUG membership. If we can't identify you, you will not be placed in a raffle. So welcome to the February edition of the Tucson Macintosh User Group. Join us in celebrating not only President's Day and Valentine's Day, but also National Hemp Day, National Cut the Cord Day, National Retro Day. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, March 18th at this same virtual location. In March, we will have another Ask Me Anything session hosted by Kevin, and we will take a look at SetApp. SetApp is a subscription service that gives you access to 250 plus Mac OS apps. Melissa, Kevin, Roger, and myself will show you a few of our favorite applications in SetApp. These are not time-wasting games, but real applications and utilities that are automatically updated through SetApp. Granted, some are one-trick ponies, but you will need that trick. If you need that trick, this would be a great place to get it done. On Tuesday, February 6th, we held our second in-person meeting at the Murphy Wilmot Library. Even though much of the time was spent helping new TMUG member Gina, hello Gina,
Ah,
uh,
hi, Melissa.
um, I do believe that everybody there got something out of this process of advising another TMUG member. See our chat window for a link for the online presenters review poll. And Bob put it in there, and it's there. We urge you to click on that link. You could leave the window open until tomorrow and then fill it in.
Kind of like the
But it really
preventers
does help us.
poll.
The review polls. Quiet, Melissa, I'm talking. The review the presenter reviews really do help us plan for future meetings. The Apple Store in Tucson is going through a remodel and an expansion. It's still in operation in temporary headquarters as of my last visit, which was in early February. And it is on the upper floor, pretty much above where it is on the lower floor. We urge you to please subscribe to the TMUG YouTube channel. When we reach 50 subscribers, we will be able to do more with YouTube, such as a live stream. Where is our YouTube channel, you ask? Well, you can go to the tmug.com website, and under newsletter and social media, you'll be presented with a nice big link to the YouTube channel. This month, unfortunately, we had more than one TMUG member report not getting the newsletter this month. If you have experienced this, please report it to Bob Doms. If you subscribe, but remember, that's not the only way you're going to get the link to the Zoom. If you subscribe to the TMUG announce part of our groups.io, you will get that link multiple times. Also, you can always find and download the newsletter on tmug.com on the newsletter page. And if you want to report something to Bob Doms, there's a link to his TMUG address on the newsletter page. Who'd have thought? Okay. Are there any other announcements? Is something I forgot? In that case, we're going to move forward with a call for sale items are wanted to buy. Anybody got something they want to sell or buy? Then we're going to turn it over to our intrepid Vice President Ridge, who is going to give us the tech update and security news. Ridge, are you ready to take it away? Then take it away, sir.
Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go for this month. And of course, we start with software updates. Probably the ones that are probably most important to you guys would be 1Password and any of the Adobe products and Firefox maybe and Chrome. And anybody still using Office, that's been updated. And Spam Sieve, you want to make sure if you're using that to get it updated. And Zoom is now at 6.3.10. And Apple also released a lot of stuff, and you can see that there were lots of updates from Apple. I'll let you take a look at that list. And pressing on, the only thing that's coming from Apple, it will be the next version of Sequoia and the iOS, iPadOS apps, and also tvOS. So that's it for those. In their first quarter, Apple did pretty well. Their revenue was an all-time high, up 4%. And those are the items that Apple sold during the first quarter. And services had an all-time high, and a dividend was set by the board of directors. And if you're interested in Apple Care Plus, their extended warranty program is now a subscription program. You can only get the 2 or 3 year plans online for now. And we'll have to see how that plays out over the next couple of months. And Apple Care Plus has that damage function in it, so that it might be of interest to those who are in living conditions where their machines might get dropped and damaged. Now, the App Store, as of February 5th, 7th, Apple blocked access to the App Store for older Macs. And that eventually prevents Apple customers from purchasing and downloading the software they've already purchased. And that includes users of Mac OS X, 12, Sierra, and older. And if there's any attempt to sign in, it produces an error message from Macs with that old operating system. And they've added the M4 Quick Map lineup to their online repair page. If you want to do yourself repair, the parts and tools can be ordered from the online self-service repair store. And the latest operating system, Mac OS 15 Sequoia, will run on the following Macs. I'll let you take a look and see if your Mac is here, and you can and okay. Pressing on. if you've disabled Apple artificial intelligence on your Apple device, and then you later install the iOS 18.3.1 or OS Sequoia 15.3.1, you're going to find that AI has automatically been turned on again. If you'll have to go turn it off again. And then Tim Cook posted a tease on X about the newest member of the family making its debut tomorrow. Some folks online say it's going to be an iPhone SE, which is a smaller, less expensive iPhone. But we'll have to see tomorrow. That's tomorrow they're going to release whatever it is. And maybe something else, but who knows? Now, that time capsule 10-year battery case that we talked about last month, and there it shows with 2 Energizer batteries in it, but the company recommends using lithium AA batteries instead of alkaline because they say that the alkalines don't last well for extended periods, and they wind up with not lasting very well, with a little bit of corrosion, perhaps on the ends of the anodes. And now Apple is still supposedly interested in folding displays for whatever they might write. And so they filed a patent application and got it approved for a display hinge that they might use on their displays for the folding device. Then there's a new ultra slim tracker that works with Apple's Find My app. It's rechargeable, but it's only 1.5 millimeters thick and it's the size of a credit card. And it has precision global tracking, and the company's name is MagTag. It's only $24 till February 23rd. M5 equipped Apple products of the Pro and Max version are expected to be released sometime later this year based on a South Korean media claim that Apple Silicon M5 chips are now in mass production. We'll have to see on that one. And here's a nostalgia item, another business card signed by Steve Jobs. Back when Apple was at Brandley Drive in Cupertino, they expect to get more than $75,000 for it. So thanks for your attention on this part of the presentation. And now we'll turn to items of security interest for the month. As far as security fixes in software, all of those Adobe software products had security fixes. And Firefox had 22 fixes, and Microsoft had 12 fixes. And Apple had security fixes in a whole lot of stuff. Look at all those fixes. Sequoia, 15.3, a total of 61 security fixes. Wow. So the moral of the story is to make sure your Apple software is up to date. And now turning to cybercrime. Apple has been interested in privacy and security for a long time. Apple has gone a lot farther than most other companies to make sure your data is only accessible to you unless you explicitly say otherwise. But there's a new secret government order in the UK from the Labour government, which seeks to absolutely destroy the safety for every Apple user around the world. There's over 2 billion Apple users globally would have their privacy and security obliterated by this supposed secret, undisclosed order from the British government. It calls on powers afforded to them by a previous law they passed. And essentially, they are ordering Apple to create a backdoor, allowing them the ability to retrieve all the content any Apple user worldwide has uploaded to the cloud. Apple's going to appeal, of course, but they're not going to be allowed to delay compliance with the law while that appeal is underway. Further, they're legally forbidden from acknowledging that they've received this order at all, and are not going to be allowed to tell their customers their cloud security has been eliminated. And the law also makes it a criminal offense to even reveal that they've received such an order. And on its face, if it's fully complied with, the security of cloud storage for every Apple user in the world would not only diminished, but basically non-existent. And so far, it's only applies to data in the cloud and not require a backdoor to data that's on your device locally stored. And however, there's no guarantee that whatever the UK gets from the cloud will remain only in their hands. And there's thoughts that leaks are going to occur and that data will appear on dark websites and so forth. The Apple Cloud services are encrypted in transit and on the server, so Apple has the encryption key for all these apps that wind up on the cloud. These items are ones that Apple can decrypt and has done so in the past with lawful order. However, the health data, home data, messages, and other types of data are end-to-end encrypted, with the encryption key stored on your Apple device and locked to your passcode. And Apple has no way of decrypting this data, even if it wanted to. And there's now members of our oversight committees in the US Congress. They want Britain to drop that demand for a backdoor. And if the UK does not drop it, then they're recommending that that the US cuts down intelligence sharing with the UK. And they've already written to the UK's National Intelligence Directing, asking for a demand that the UK rescind its order, which undermines America's Fourth Amendment rights and civil liberties. And more cybercrime news. A company in Chicago called Now Secure has conducted a comprehensive security and privacy assessment of the DeepSeek iOS mobile app. They uncovered multiple critical vulnerabilities that put essentially everybody at risk. They highlight the immediate need for organizations to prohibit that app's use. Their Now Secure report included the bad aspects of that DeepSeek app, and unencrypted data transmission, weak hard-coded encryption keys, insecure data stores, and data sent to China. Google ads continue to drive malware infections, including promotion of a Trojan horse that masquerades as the important software Homebrew for Macs. And they're once again abusing Google ads, using a fake Homebrew website. The malware used is called Amos Stealer, also Atomic. and an information stealer designed for Mac OS systems and sold to cyber criminals as a subscription of $1,000 a month. Wow. That malware was seen recently in other campaigns promoting fake Google Meet conferencing pages. Malware Bytes reports that ransomware continues to dominate as the most lucrative cyber crime. It had a 13% rise in attacks last year. And they also listed the largest ransom payment that's on record of $75 million last year and was paid to the Dark Angels group from an unknown company. Finally, Macworld Online says the easiest way to protect yourself as an individual user from malware, avoid downloading software from repositories such as GitHub and other download sites. The Mac App Store software that's on it has been vetted by Apple and is the safest way to get applications. If you prefer not to patronize the Mac App Store, then buy software directly from the developer and their website. So if you insist on using cracked software, you're going to always risk malware exposure. Thanks for your attention. And so for the next couple of months, stay safe. And we'll see you next month. Bye now.
Thank you, Ridge.
There we go.
Thank you for all the work you put in to put that together for us. And next on our list is a short video compilation of what happened at the in-person meeting in February. If Roger is ready to take it away, take it away.
Well, thank you, Bob. The audio on this is not the best. In the future, we'll try to use shotgun mics or something to get better audio. So here we go. Or not. Are you seeing a video?
Not as of yet.
Okay, I'm not seeing it on my end either. So let's try again.
Might want to start the video and pause it and then do screen share.
Okay, we'll try that. Okay, we started it and paused it. And we're trying to get back to the share screen. And we shared it. And selected it. And we're clicking on share. There we go.
It's working. No audio.
Holy shit.
The audio seems to be absent, but got a nice picture of all those wonderful people.
So Bob, give us a play-by-play.
How am I supposed to remember? I was there talking. When I'm talking,
So
I don't remember what's going on.
The discussion is about backups. And Kevin's
We
talking
are in
about
favor of
the
backups.
3-2-1 backup strategy.
Maybe pause the video and try to get it running on the audio?
Yeah, it's almost over.
There's Gina almost underneath the clock, and she was the subject of much of our discussion.
Sort of monopolized it. Sorry.
No, 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 it's okay. I think that everybody learned something from the discussion, talking through it with you.
It was either that or twiddle our thumbs.
Yeah, yeah, or go, look through the books in the library. But those are like books, they're not digital. Thank you, Roger. Maybe we'll have something more and something better in the future. We're still learning how to do this in-person thing. It's been, what, 5 years since we stopped doing it. So we're going to now go to Melissa, and she's going to give us the lowdown on passkeys. Melissa, if you're ready, unmute and let's go.
Hey, can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Sound good? Okay. All right. So give me some feedback on what you're seeing when I go to share my screen, because I have a couple of things up here. My iPad is close by, so I don't have my mission control. But I have some handouts that I want to paste into the chat. And then I'm also going to have some links that I want to paste into the chat. So I'm going to be switching some screens around. So if somebody would give me some feedback on what is being shared when I go to share it, I would appreciate that. Okay, so let me get open a screen here. I'm going to click share, and I'm gonna share my, I have two screens, so I'm gonna share the first one. I'm gonna share my desktop, and then tell me what you're able to see. Let's see, Zoom is requesting, I have to allow that. Okay, so we're able to see.
Yep. GB hackers.
Okay, so you can see Safari then. Okay, and then here's where my, okay. All right, let me get those ready to go. Okay, so now when I go to the slideshow, I'll just click play and then let me know if it fills your screen, if you would, please.
It does.
Good now.
Are you able to see it?
Yes.
Yep.
Looking fine.
And is anybody on an iPad? Can you see it on the iPad? And it's filling your
Yes.
screen, okay? All right, good. Okay, so I'm gonna go and advance to the next slide. Okay, everybody let me know if you can see everything okay. All right, welcome to the journey and update on Passkeys. That is the universal icon for Passkeys, one of them. You'll see that throughout this presentation and places that you go. And there's our Glenda. So let me, let's see now, how am I going to see you guys if I'm sharing my screen? Because I wanted just a show of hands. I wanted to see who here, let's see, how would I know now? Who here knows what a passkey is or has used passkeys? Can somebody who's looking at the gallery tell me how many hands are raised since I have a full screen? Does anybody have their hands raised?
Yes.
So there are people here who do not know what a passkey is or who have not used a passkey.
Yes.
Okay, great. That means I get to go to the next couple of slides and I don't have to skip over them. I was hoping you'd say yes. So don't be shy. It's good. So now we will have a brief review of last time. So for those of you who are new, who may have not have been here or don't know what a passkey is, or are like, what in the world is she talking about? So a year ago, I gave a presentation on passkeys. And so we talked about exactly what passkeys actually are. And so, so I asked for a show of hands, reassured you it's totally okay. So this was my presentation from last year. And I asked the question, what are passkeys? And will they grant our wish for a passwordless future? That was what we set out to find out. That's what I researched. And during that presentation, I gave you loads and loads and loads of details about what a passkey is. And so you should still have those handouts, but luckily I actually brought them with me tonight. So I will put those into the chat. And then along with those handouts, I gave you a handout that had a whole bunch of reference links on it. And I also gave you a handout that had, was this handout from the FIDO Alliance, or from, YubiKey, that talked about what exactly a passkey was. And because, I don't want to reinvent the wheel here, I thought I would just use this again, because now it seems like there's been some changes. And that's what we're here to talk about today, is the updates, like what is actually new with passkeys. So let me get a timer going here. Okay. And so I wanted to, and you guys can see this because I have tools in the way, so it's hard for me to see what you all can see. But I started to annotate this handout that I had given everybody last time. And so I added a few things to it. So everybody's talking about passkeys, want to know what it is. So I'm just going to kind of go through this briefly. And because I have so many resources, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I just wanted to give you like kind of a brief review of what a passkey is. And so this is talking about the introduction about what passkeys are. These are, gosh, this is in my way and I can't see what it says now, because the controls are up there. Does anybody know how to get the controls to get out of my way? Let's see if I can hide the controls, because I
I
can't
see
see my
no
mouse.
controls.
You see the controls?
I do not.
Okay, I do on my screen because I'm sharing my screen and it's hard for me to see because it's covering everything. So let me see if I can exit out of this. It actually took away my mouse as well. So let me exit out of that and go back to this. Let me see if I can hide this screen. Kevin, do you know if there's a way to get the Zoom controls to not like cover your whole screen and be in your
I've
way?
never shared a screen on Zoom, so Roger would probably know better.
Yeah. It's up at the top, but it's like it's crossing over my whole vision.
Yeah, we
Okay.
don't see it on this side, so
Yeah, I know. Okay. Well, let me try. This is why it's hard to view it in full screen. Okay, let me try this again. Okay, I moved it down a little bit. So, so FIDO, the FIDO Alliance, this is an open security standard, as it says here. This is a group of basically like scientists and cryptologists, and they do all of the science behind the cryptology that makes this a standard. So if you think about a standard, like kind of like building codes and, rules and regulations, and they guide how things are made. And so FIDO is the organization that handles that. And then you're all familiar with a credential. I mean, everybody knows how to insert a key into a door and unlock it, right? So this is kind of a passkey is like a digital key, if you will. It's going to, what we're hoping to do is replace passwords, because passwords contain so many different parts. You've got your username, you've got the actual password that you have to either make up or use a password manager to generate. And then you've got security questions and answers. You've got one-time passcodes. You've got verification codes. You've got what is your mother's maiden name. You've got all these different parts and pieces. And then a lot of times you'll go to a website and they make you change it every 60, 90 days or something like that. So there's all of these problems with passwords. Well, passkeys have all that stuff baked into it. And so it's supposed to be a much simpler process for the user. And then it's also supposed to protect the bottom line of the companies who are going to implement the passkeys, because they're phish resistant. They're not able to be hacked. So it's a type of credential. And then this explains why they're phishing resistant. I mean, think about it right now. When you create a password, you store that, whether you write it down on a napkin or whether you write it down on a notebook and then you can't read your handwriting later, or somebody else has written it down, you can't read their handwriting, or whatever the case may be, or you store it in a password manager, you have to have that copy of that password on your end of things. And then there's a database, i.e. a website, where they store a bunch of those same passwords in their database. Well, if that database gets hacked, as they have been, and that's what's causing all these problems, then that gets compromised. And the reason why they want to use passkeys is because these keys are encrypted and they're phishing resistant because there's a public key and a private key, and it lives on your device and it's not stored in a database somewhere. In other words, like, I guess if you think of it like when you have your checkbook and you look at the bottom of your check and you have your account number, that account number is unique to you, but the routing number is the same for every bank. You know, Bank of America has its own routing number and Chase has its own routing number, USA, and so on and so forth. So it's sort of kind of like that, where, you know, each company will have their own public key that will be public and it'll be the same, but then your individual key will be unique and generated only to you or your device and linked to your biometrics. So it makes it phishing resistant because the websites are no longer storing these databases full of passwords that then get hacked. You see all these news stories about things getting leaked, and that's what's happening when that happens. So then what I want to do here now is I want to open up this actual document because I have the rest of it on here in full size. And what I also want to do is I want to put this in the chat so that you guys can follow along. So let me get the chat open and I'm going to drop that in there. I just got to get my window. There's the chat. And I'm going to, these are going to be PDFs. So, and then that way these will be part of the show notes, if you will. So I'm going to drop and just, you don't have to look at the references and stuff just yet, but this one you might want to open up. Gosh, I really wish I could move this control bar that you guys can't see. It just, every time I open something, it's right above the toolbar where I can't click anything. Isn't that's beautiful user interface, right? We're actually going to be talking about that in a little while. The user interface of things, like Zoom thought that was a really great idea, evidently, to put it right there above my toolbar where I go to click things. Great. Thanks, Zoom. You're just lovely. Here, hide floating meeting controls. Let me try that. Now I can escape. Okay. But now I can't. I would like to be able to. Okay. Let me try that. Now that I can't see them anymore, that'll be a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to take this this PDF here and I'm going to place it into the chat. So I have an annotated version for you. And what I did was, this was what I had shared last year. So I'm going to pop that in there. And if someone would take a look at the chat and let me know if it came through, I would appreciate that.
Yes, it came through, Melissa.
Perfect. Thank you. And then I'm also going to drop in the chat there. This will be especially handy for people who weren't here last time. That is the those are the references from 23-24 when I gave it last year. So there's a whole bunch of links on that second PDF that you can look at after the presentation is over, so that you can do some reading up if you want to dive in and learn more about this. That'll give you, you know, a whole other course. So that's why I said I'm going to do something brief and then that'll be your deeper dive. Okay, so I'm going to open this graphic up now. So if you want to, you could look at it if you're having any trouble seeing it or if I go too fast. But this graphic here basically explains basically what passkeys are. Now, what's the difference between a passkey and an authenticator? So we already know that a passkey is like something digital. We can't touch it. We can't hold it. It's a bunch of code. It's something cryptological. It's, you know, something that's stored in code in our devices. And then we use an authenticator to fill in the passkey for us. So here they talk about what the difference is. Now, in the olden days, what we did before all of this stuff was, what was our authenticator? It was all up here in our brain, right? People would say, well, how do you remember your passwords? It's all up here. I remember it. I have this whole sentence. I memorized this song or this, everybody has their method, right? That's your authenticator right there. It's your brain. Well, guess what happens? If you have a stroke and you're lucky enough to have that part of the brain affected, it's not up there anymore. And I can tell you that because very sadly, this actually happened to a friend of mine. He did have a stroke and he survived the stroke, but then he locked himself out of all of his devices and his whole entire family. And they were scrambling to try to get at stuff. And he did use a password manager, but he couldn't remember how to get into it because he had it all up here. He didn't write it down. So your brain is not a good authenticator for this kind of stuff. Your brain is also not a good password maker upper because we are humans and we do very predictable things. So that's why I wrote the note here that a notebook or memorizing will not cut it. You can't do that with passkeys. You could get away with that with passwords because you would write them down. Passkeys, they're just way too long and they're a bunch of code and you can't really even see them unless you go really digging for them. So you wouldn't want to do that. So that's the difference there. Now this talks about what is the difference now that we know that a passkey is something that we can't really touch, that it's now of course this talks about now there is such a thing as a hardware key. Now they're calling it a hardware bound passkey that's then bound onto a piece of hardware so that you could technically touch if you want to think of it that way. So there's a code version, but either way, the code goes onto a piece of hardware, whether or not it's that piece of hardware is a device or it's like a USB that kind of maybe looks like a little mini thumb drive or something that you plug in. It's almost like a, physical key that you would, turn a lock. And so then these are the difference between the synced passkey, where it's stored on your devices or in your password manager on your devices, and then a hardware bound passkey. And then this goes through it. I'm just going to kind of briefly, quickly run through it. And so I'm sorry if I go too fast for the sake of time, but I did annotate it so you can always ask questions later. And then this just briefly goes through what would you use each one for? Would you use, and this is kind of what it looks like here, this hard-bound passkey. Would you use it in this scenario or would you use it in this scenario? And then it says, if you need this, then you would use this or this. So for example, there's people who work, for government contractors, we won't say who, that would probably use a hardware bound passkey. They wouldn't use something like a synced passkey because that's not allowed within their company, at least not yet anyway. And so they would use a hardware bound passkey, something that they physically have to plug in. YubiKey, yes. In fact, this handout is made by YubiKey or Yubico, rather. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yubico passkey. Yeah.
Melissa, can I inject something here real quick?
Sure.
A lot of banks are using what they call SDC, their hardware bound passcodes, but they allow you to use them on your phone. You don't necessarily need a YubiKey.
Okay. Then that means that the future is coming. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, the problem with those are you need to set up a passkey on each device that you have.
Yeah, and then they sync or something, I guess.
Well, no, they do not sync. That's the whole thing.
Right.
The problem with passkeys that sync, they found out, if there's a data breach, it's a 1Password, or somebody has access to your iCloud account, they could download your passkey and they have access to your accounts.
Right. So that's why this is a no-no here where it says complies with regulations. So for example, next time you go to the doctor, I know my clinic does it, but kind of pay attention to what they're doing at their laptop, and you might see them have their badge and they string it out and they tap it. That's what they use to authenticate to get into the laptop. So that would be a kind of like a hardware passkey that's on there. Really like simple way of thinking about it. If you can think about little kids at school, I know when my kids were littler, they wanted to, all the kids have Chromebooks and they wanted to make it really easy for the kids to be able to log into this one particular website where then all of the teachers would, for all the classes, that's where they would onboard their stuff. And so what they did is they made QR codes and then they laminated them. And then they gave the kids like little lanyards that they put on their, so it was kind of like they were like a little nurse for the day or a little doctor. It's kind of like they could just, hold it up to the camera on the Chromebook, and that was like their hardware key, even though it was like paper that was laminated. But it's still kind of the same thing. So, that's the down and dirty way of doing it. That's how we have to do it in education. I mean, if you think about it, like that's one of those, banks, medical, anything financial, anything medical, anything education, where you have this huge, large amount of people and they don't have time for this. Like they don't have time to be messing around with like saving stuff to password managers and stuff like that. They got to get in, they got to go, they got to move on with life. You know what I mean? There's stuff to do. So that's where the hardware keys come in handy. But if you're like, muggles like us, where, we're logging in and we're having to navigate many, many sites, whereas like those kinds of places, if you think about it, like little kids that are at a workstation or doctors or nurses or, places where they have to use a hardware key, a lot of those are turnkey situations where there's a very stringent workflow. They go here, they go there, but they're in, they're out, they're tap, 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 tap. And it's designed that way. Same with like school, like the kids go here, they go there, they go there. They're not allowed to do this. They're not allowed to do that, although they try. And they try really hard and sometimes they get away with it. I don't know anybody, I can't imagine, that would do that. But it's designed to work that way in that flow. Now, us on, or if you work in a business where you're logging into multiple sites, we're going to use this methodology where we're syncing things because we're having to log into so many different websites. So that's just a kind of down and dirty, bare basic of what, to get your mind thinking about what a pass key is and what it does and why you would even need to know about it and why you would want to use it, because it's supposed to replace passwords, be more secure, protect the companies, educational institutions, medical facilities, protect the security of all of us involved, protect the bottom line, protect our assets. That's the goal. That's where we want to be going with this in the future. So that's that handout for you. So I'm done with that one. And like I said, you have the notes from before. So I'm going to go back to my slideshow. And remember, we also talked about in the first slideshow. Now, let's see. I can't see. Do you still see my meeting chat window? Is that on the way for you?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, so remember we talked about, if you were here for the first presentation, we talked about how my goal when I was explaining passkeys was to get you from going from FUD to FAD. Like almost a year ago today, it was what, the 20th, I think, when I gave this, so we're almost a year to the day. A year ago, I said to you guys, I really think that passkeys are awesome, and I would really like to see it going from, we have this fear, this fear. I don't want it to be a fear of uncertainty and doubt. I want it to become a fad. And so I had said that, I said that fear, the FUD stood for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that I wanted us to be thinking about passkeys like the next new fad. So let's try to adopt them. Let's try to use them. Let's try to work them into our workflow. And so I said that FAD stood for face, adapt, and defend. That's what we were going for here. That was going to be our goal. And so now, fast forward, we're here a year later. And where are we? Have we gone from FUD to FAD? Have we? Or has it become a dud? I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, we'll find out as we talk about that. So just want to remind you again that I've got handouts to download. And this is a little preview of what the handouts look like that are in the download. So as you can see, when you take a look at them, go ahead and download them before the end of tonight. If you don't, if you miss it, they'll be in the show notes later. We'll put them on the groups.io. and you can get them, but each one of these will have the date, the link, and who it's written by. Okay, so on with the show. So now, a year later, we're going to talk about passkeys. She's got her little glasses on now. We're going to talk about what's new. We're going to talk about what's next. We're going to talk about what's true. And we're going to talk about what's best. Okay. So, what is new? So here is a slide that I made. This is from the FIDO Alliance, and I have the links up there. And again, these are going to be on the handout that I give you guys later. So don't worry about trying to memorize or, I mean, if you want to take screenshots, you can, but they'll be on the handout. FIDO Alliance is one of the best resources you can go to find what's new in the news. And you can see that now it goes up to December 23rd. So that's relatively new in the scope of things when they did their data finds and their studies and things like that. But this just kind of gives you an overview of what you can find if you go to this page on their site. So I'm not going to read everything, of course. This is something that you can look at. I just wanted to show you that these are the kinds of headlines that you can find if you go to the FIDO Alliance to find out what's new about passkeys. And it's, I mean, if you're a nerd like me and you really like this kind of stuff, it's really, really fascinating, really interesting stuff. I encourage you to go and check this out. And then this is also, this is like the state of passkey adoption. This was a really super cool site that I found. And this will tell you what's new, like what is, how much of the adoption is, you know, so they study this kind of stuff. And let me switch out of full screen now. And let's see. I want to get out of full screen because now I want to bring up that website here. Here's the FIDO Alliance. Now this is a really great, I'm going to link this to again. So these are some new key findings that they studied. So this talks about adoption. So remember when I said, you know, is it going to be a fad or is it going to be a dud? So it does seem to become, I mean, it does seem to be popular. The news is good. There is a lot of adoption. There is some frustration. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So that's where the dud kind of comes in. But for the most part, it does seem to be catching on. I would say it has become a fad. I'm pleased to report the state of passkeys is good. It is good. So here are some stats for you stats nerds that like that kind of stuff. So this is a good resource. Again, I'm not going to go over the whole thing, but I wanted to show you that. And then on that state of passkeys site that I found, this is what that looks like. And then this has even more. I mean, look at these graphs. Isn't that cool? Then you can, I mean, if you want to know stats, you can just dig in here and have fun. So again, I'll put that on the link. This talks about different types of logins and what people are using. So feast your eyes on that. So those are some stats for you. And then let me go back to my presentation. And then what's next? So what's next is, this is exciting. So on that handout that I gave you, I modified one of the areas. It said something about, you know, not transportable or shareable or something like that. And this is an article. There's a lot of stuff, and I don't mean this to sound like a 1Password ad. And just full disclosure, I do not work for Password or anything like that. I've just been using them for a really, really long time, and it's just it's kind of where my life is. But what's really going to be interesting is the ability to be able to export passkeys. So you will be able to get them out of, you know, one place and into another if you want to move around. So that's what's new, and that's next. That's what's next, and that's interesting to me. What is true? So I want to spend a little bit more time about misconceptions, because this is where people have most of their questions. What is true? What is true? What is false? You know, what are misunderstandings? Because as I've been talking to people, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, we've surveyed people. Survey says A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about either what a passkey is, they confuse it with a password, or they think it's like the verification code that comes to your phone. So there's a lot of misconception about what it is, what it does, how it works. And then a lot of people think, well, if I lose my phone, well, then I'm sunk. Then what do I do? And so this is a really great article that I encourage you to look at that goes through it. And I'm just going to switch back here briefly and show you what that looks like, because there are a lot of your burning questions that are in here that I thought were really great. I didn't have a chance to watch this whole video here, but this is another explainer. And then this talks about Bluetooth, like, do you need Bluetooth? You know, how does Bluetooth work? Is it safe? That sort of thing. I also have some other articles about Bluetooth because I was like, does that going to make it hackable? Does that make it vulnerable? And luckily the answer is no, because it doesn't pass the data through it. It just makes sure that your device is detectable. So yeah, so this is a really great article. Again, I'm going to link it in the notes there that you can read through. I'm not going to spend the whole presentation going through each one of these, but as you can see, these are some really great questions and answers that you probably all have, and this is a great resource to review for that. And then I thought it would be fun if I asked, what does ChatGPT say about this? So I asked, so why have passkeys not replaced passwords by now? Like, what is the deal? Like, why, it's been a whole year. Come on, it's been 365 days. Why is the future not here? Like, why haven't passkeys just replaced everything by now? And so these were the answers that ChatGPT gave me. And yes, I have experienced quite a bit of this in the field. Most of you know that I'm a field technician and I go out and I work with people in their homes. So I do see this quite a bit. I do see this quite a lot. Challenges with people just being aware of it, being comfortable with it. People have, conspiracy theories. Well, is it, they don't like the biometrics for their own reasons. When we try to actually implement it, then there's some confusion. I was working with somebody recently and I went to make a pass key and I was like, well, where did it go? And so even I still struggle with it. So, it's not completely perfect. It's not this panacea of everything. So yes, these are definitely ChatGPT's answer. I do agree with a lot of these, and they did cite their sources. So these are definitely challenges that make it difficult for the rollout. It's going to take a while until it's all going to be about user experiences and human behavior, psychology. And then also, I talked about this last time too, this notion of, and it's also linked in the resources, the notion of technical debt, financial resources or financial places of business, your banks, your medical places. A lot of times you'll go to create a pass key and it either won't be available at all because they just haven't put their money into those resources to revamp their websites. So for example, I heard on the news recently that there's been a new rule or whatever you want to call it, like like the FIDO Alliance makes those the guidelines, you should follow, this is the way you should do it to be in compliance, right? And so there's compliances that people have to follow in order to be able to say that, we do this kind of business and we do it the right way. Well, it used to be that there was a security rule that would say that for user safety, you should make a user change their password every 60 to 90 days. And, lately it's been like 90 days. So there are still websites out there where you'll go and log in and it'll tell you it's been, X amount of time since you've logged in last, you have to change your password. Well, that's going to become a no more. Nobody's, you're not allowed to do that anymore. But I mean, what they say you're supposed to do and what actually is going to happen are probably going to be two different things, right? So we'll see how that shakes out. And then here's a really good example. Here's a gotcha. I mean, look at this. This is login.gov, people. This is login.gov. Okay, I experienced this just the other night. I took some screenshots. So here I have I have a little bit of a sort of kind of a demo. Of course, I'm not going to like log into the government website right in front of you all. feel like showering in front of you. But okay, so these are screenshots of what it looks like when you go to log in, right? So this is from my iPhone, obviously. Excuse me. And I'm using 1Password to log in. And I already have a login.gov password because I already have an account there. And so I go to sign in, and I go to sign in with my one time. Now I can show you that because, that's going to expire and who cares what that is. But I log in with the complicated way. I've got my email address, I've got the password, and then, now I've got to get a one-time password, and that's got to be texted. Normally it would be texted to my phone, which is unsafe because of something called SIM jacking, where it can be intercepted. So I try to avoid that as best I can. And instead, I use 1Password to generate the one-time password. So this is a little bit safer, step in the right direction. So I've got to go through this step. And then I get to this page here. Well, now it's offering me, and it actually didn't offer me, correction, it didn't offer me. I actually had to go and look for it. I actually had to go into the sidebar like a cave person, and I actually had to go and dig for it and go find it. And it wasn't called a passkey. It wasn't like, would you like to set up a passkey like Best Buy or Amazon, like when they walked you through it? Nope, didn't use that. They're calling it face or touch unlock. So there's another problem. I mean, this is login.gov, and they're not even using the same naming convention. So
That's because
that's
those
a
are not
problem.
passkeys. That's
I'm sorry,
biometric. That's not a passkey. That's biometric logins. Totally
but
different
this
animals.
this is technically, in the article that I read, they referenced this. This is technically a pass key because it does use the word pass key then later. It does say it somewhere about a pass key. And so when I created it, when I walked through the process here, it did create a pass key in my password
Okay.
manager. So now I have a pass
Oh,
key.
wow.
So, and then this is what it looks like. So I created a pass key for login.gov now on 2 different devices. I did it just to mess around with it. So now, and you can click manage, and I renamed it because at the time, I think it just said Safari 18 on Mac OS. And I was like, well, what if I have multiple Macintosh computers, So I renamed it to this specific Macintosh computer. So that's another tip that I offer, is that when you guys learn enough about this and you get comfortable with making passkeys, if you get into this portion of it where you've made them, and now if the interface is designed well enough, it should have this. It should allow you to manage your passkeys so that you can revoke them, delete them, but you should also be able to rename them. It didn't used to be, but now they're allowing you to rename them. And this is really important because you don't always want to just accept whatever the generic default it gives you. You really should name it something meaningful to you so that you can find it later, in case you do need to revoke it. I mean, what if that laptop, what if I sell it, or what if I don't know, what if like one of my kids takes it to school or something, and then one of his friends like hacks it or something like that, because that could happen. So, I'd want to be able to go in and revoke that, but I don't want to revoke all my passkeys because I can't tell which one it is. So, make it a habit of naming them as you go. So that's what I wanted to show you about that. And then, okay, we're running out of time here, so I'm going to move on to, we did this fun little survey. If you've answered the survey, thank you very, very much. It was sent out a little while ago, and there was a couple of questions that we asked. And so just for the reasons that I was outlining earlier, there are some frustrations like adoption, like, do you know what a passkey is? Do you know how to use one? And so these were the questions that I surveyed the rest of the group. So if you haven't seen the survey, I'm just going to go through them quickly. These are the answers. The first question was, I save and or use a passkey wherever the option is presented. The second question, in case you didn't know what that was, I haven't heard of passkeys, so I don't use them yet. And those are our results. And 3, I have set up a few passkeys, but cannot be bothered to set up anymore. Because I know some people, they're once bitten, twice shy. They get it in there, and it just confused them so much. They're like, nope, this is not for me. So hopefully if you come to these meetings, you won't fall into that camp. That's what our goal is. I have set up a few passkeys and plan on using more. I maintain many logins, and this would be for like the power users where I would like to get that number a little bit higher there. I maintain many logins. I am working towards replacing every password, two-factor authentication, security question, one-time password, and or PIN wherever I can find passkey replacements for them because they simplify and speed up my workflow. That right there is the holy grail. Like that is the reason why we want you to be using passkeys. So I would like to be able to redo this survey again and have those answers a little bit better there. So number 6, there's just a couple more. Do you use passkeys exclusively with a credential or password manager? And you'll see why in a little bit why I'm keep referring to it as a credential manager. And then this one talks about which kinds of credential managers you're using. We've got a lot of 1Password users, so that's good. And then if you answered other in question 7, please specify. So I love the answer. Apple's new one. It's just, yeah, because what is it called? It's just Apple app. It's just passwords, so yeah. Or you type your own in. Yeah. So a lot of people are still making up their own passwords. They're not using a manager to generate it. They're still having to, create their own, which is gonna, makes a lot more work for you and makes it less secure. And then this one talks about if you, this is a little bit of a trick question. If you answered yes, please specify which one, for example, Apple passwords. But then, yeah, so a lot of people are using Apple passwords, it looks like, ever since that came out because it's there, it's built in. So people are wanting to try it out. There's a couple of you that are using the built-in Firefox. Now, like I said, that's a trick question because if you clicked yes to Safari, it either means that you haven't upgraded yet to Sonoma and you don't have the Apple Passwords app installed and you're using the built-in saving of passwords through Mac OS anyway, and they will be in Apple Passwords for you. Or you're purposely saving them using Safari, which they'll end up in Apple Passwords for you. And then the last question was, if you did have a problem, in number 11, sorry, the user interface, if you were having a conflict, because I know last year when we talked about this, I gave a demonstration about how that's a big gotcha when we first started using them, was that the built-in password management and the autofill of Safari in that question above was filling them in. But then if you have that enabled and then you use 1Password, then there's some overlapping going on. So that's what this question was addressing. Are you having any issues with conflicts of the user interface, the popovers getting in the way of each other? And then if you did, we're able to fix it. So yeah, people were not able to fix it. And that doesn't surprise me, unfortunately. Okay, so the last question, what is best? I'm still recommending that these credential managers, and the reason I call them credential managers is because they do store a lot more than just passwords. They store so many other things. And so, for example, if you look here, this is just a little screenshot of now granted, I'm purposely only using it very, very lightly, but for example, like I was helping somebody and I was trying to teach them about this. And one of the things that irritated me the most and why we switched to 1Password immediately was the timeout. Oh my goodness. They had to keep unlocking it and unlocking it and unlocking it. And it was just like, it wouldn't even stay open. So for example, in 1Password and other credential managers, you can specify in its own settings how long you want it to stay unlocked while you're working it. If you're switching back and forth, if you're trying to organize your accounts or, learning something or working on a project with a colleague or something, there's a lot of tweaks that you can make and you can really customize it to your needs. Can't do that with Apple Passwords yet. And it's very, very, very limited. So I really just don't like it just for that reason alone. So it's just so, so basic. Now, I mean, if all you have is an iPhone and that's it, and you just, you can't afford it. Of course, I like to meet people where they are. So yes, then by all means use it, but then you better be guarding your passcode and being very, very, very careful about where you're logging in and making sure that nobody can see what that is, because then this unlocks the keys to your city. So there's a time and a place for this kind of thing. So, but I would encourage people to try to think outside the box a little bit and try to use something more. But if this suits your needs, then hey, it's way better than using a Word doc that's not protected, or writing them down where you can't read your handwriting and then they're lost or they get damaged because paper gets damaged. It's way better than keeping a spreadsheet on your computer that's in plain text that can be read. So it's definitely a step in the right direction. I'm not going to poo-poo it. I mean, people should use it. If anything, it gets them educated on password hygiene and how to use passwords and how to get passkeys implemented. So it's a very, very good thing that Apple's doing this along with all the other platforms. So I think it's fantastic. As far as password and credential managers go, and I'm just saying it's very, very light and it's very, very basic, and it's not quite as secure as having a dedicated password manager that acts as kind of like a firewall between you and your entire database of credentials that you're storing, and not only yours, but like in my case, I'm managing my family and my loved ones. So I have other people to think about besides just me. And then this is a demo that I'll close with. There's a couple more things in closing. If you want to try this stuff out, I have a link to this demo. This is very super easy. I had a link on the prior reference sheet that you can play around with. And then this is a new one that I found. And this one is even easier, very, very straightforward. I really, really like this one. So definitely check out that handout. And like I said, I'm gathering links, so I will have some handouts for you at the end. Last year, I asked, is a passwordless future possible? And the answer that we came away with that I wanted to leave you with was that, yes, it is possible if you just believe. And then tonight, it is possible if you don't stop believing. Thank you.
Clever.
Melissa, I got a question for you. Have you come across any websites that use passkeys that do not use a password at all? In other words, when
Great
you sign
question.
up for are you still required to enter your password initially and then accept the passkey?
That's a great question. I have not come up with a site where it was only a passkey. So like for an initial sign in, like a brand new account, brand new shiny
Correct.
account. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I would love to see that though. That would be awesome. Haven't seen that yet. And I'm still seeing sites where, like, that's always been my question. Like, well, why, say for example, I'll just pick on Best Buy, did last time too. So I went to Best Buy, created a passkey. So why do I still need my password? Can't I just get rid of it? And so I guess what the answer has been, as I've been researching this and seeing it in the field and interacting with it, is that they still just need to provide another way to get back to the accounts, because too many people are just still not, they're just still not using it yet. It's just still not compliant. There's just not enough people using it yet. So we'll get there. The future isn't quite here yet. So ask me again next year.
Okay, we'll bring you back next year. Thank you, Melissa.
Oh, darn it. You're welcome.
Appreciate, are there any more questions for Melissa?
Sure. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Why I'm still stuck in the password thing, I'm afraid, and I'm really enjoying this because it's helped me understand a little bit.
Oh, good. I'm
Why
glad.
do I need more than one pass key? Why do I have to have a different pass?
Well, you go to different places. I mean, you only own one house, I'm going to assume, or do you own
Yeah,
multiple
well,
houses?
sure.
One. And then you have a car.
Right.
You got to have a key for your house. You got to have a key for your car, and then you might have another car, or you have to have multiple keys to interact with different things. Websites are the same thing. You've got to have multiple keys. It's, if you can imagine a key ring, like your physical key ring that's got
Exactly.
keys on it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So your key ring that you have your actual physical keys to get into your house, into your car, into your lockbox, into your wherever the places that you go where you have to use a key to unlock, that's in the same way in the digital realm of things. It's just that, instead of having, you know, have you ever seen kids walk around with those key rings that have 40 different fuzzy
Yeah.
things like all
Yeah.
over them?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's like right now with passwords. So, you want to try to get your key ring simplified, okay? And that's what we're trying to do with Passkeys
So do I need a
in the digital
passkey for
world.
each place I want to use a password, or I would normally use a password?
Exactly. The
Is
goal is
it,
to replace them over time. Yep, you're going to be replacing your passwords with pass keys. So your credential manager, your password manager, whatever you choose to use, is going to start to look very lean and clean. Instead of having, you're going to have your username is going to be your email address. It's attached to it. But instead of having so many fields, well, right now you have username, password, security question 1, security question answer, security question 2, answer, security question 3, answer. And then they want to know, you might need a one-time password. So you have to have your phone number in there, and then you have to have your address in there. And then sometimes you have to go to a bank where, well, you have to pick out an image, and then you have to identify the image.
yeah,
There's
exactly.
all those
Yeah.
parts. A pass key is like one thing. It's all baked inside of there. It's one little wafer that's got everything in it. It's all baked in. It's
Well,
all
and
baked
I
in.
have to tell you that I thought that one password was going to be the answer for all these problems.
It will. It will.
In fact, I have several websites, my veterans medical records and things like that,
Yep.
that I go through .gov or me, be
Login.gov. Yep.
me.
The one I showed you.
Uh, all I have to do is just click. I don't have to type anything, and I love it.
That's because you're probably using a pass key with one password because it just automatically fills it right in.
Okay, I got you. Thank you. I'm going to read this stuff and find out more about it.
Great. I'm
But
glad.
Melissa, from my experience, using a password with a two-factor authentication versus a pass key with one password is the same exact workflow. You click on it, you go into a website, you press the button, you put in your one password or your fingerprint or whatever, and it fills it in for you.
Yeah, if you're
So
probably
what
on
is,
really brand new devices that are like super fast, and you've got super fast. Kevin, I've been to your house. I know you have awesome tech and super fast internet. Come on, not
yeah, but
everybody does.
the question I'm asking is if you're using one password
Yeah.
and you need to have a password anyway for a
Mhm.
website, what is the advantage of using a pass key with one password
Because
versus a
that's where you're going to
password
store
with one
everything.
password? What was that?
Because that's where you're gonna be cataloging everything. It's your Rolodex, it's your database where
Right, but
everything gets stored.
you're doing that
Mhm.
with passwords anyway.
Yep.
I can jump in on this one.
Yeah,
If
then you just add it to the update the existing. Have you been maybe clicking add new? Is that why you're
No, no, no. The
okay?
question I'm asking is passwords versus pass keys. If
Mhm.
my workflow is the same exact for both, okay, what's the difference?
Passkey is just one thing. Your workflow has two parts, and it has to generate a new verification code each time.
Tony has
And
something to add
But
for
it's
you.
still only a single click with one password.
so
it's
I can
go
speak
ahead.
up on a little bit of the difference.
Yes,
So
Thanks, Tony. I'd like
speak
to
up.
hear it.
so Kevin, if the website has a breach and they lose the public part of your passkey, then you can issue similar to doing a new password, but with the public part of the passkey, they don't get anything about a password. The private part is always on your device only. They can't impersonate you. Someone with that password can't impersonate you to the website with the passkey. What the website stores, someone can't impersonate you with. If they steal the password database, then they can impersonate you to that website until you change the password. If they get the passkey part that the website stores, they can't impersonate you.
Right, and I understand that, but one password or change that. Let's go to a bank, for example. I have one bank that just started using passkeys, and you still need to know your password
To
because you
recover it,
cannot
yeah, for
you
now.
can't remove your password.
Right. That
So
was my question too. Yeah.
so websites already know your password. They, if you're using two-factor, they have that. When I go to my website, I launch one password. I click on the password icon. I say fill. It fills in my username, my password, my 2FA. I'm in. When you switch over to passkeys, you go to your website, you click on one password, click fill, it fills in the passkey.
Right.
And
The
and
work-
when the bank has a breach, a data breach, and they lose their password database, if someone
Then-
gets the information from the passkey, they cannot impersonate you to the website.
Right, but you still are required to have a password.
That's
Because-
For now.
That's a
It's a
fallback.
holdover. Yeah, it's a fallback
Right.
and it's a holdover.
So
Remember I
if
was talking
there-
about
if-
technical
if-
debt?
If that website gets breached, the people will have your passcode and your password.
But they won't have your pass key. And then
But
they can recover a lot faster. But
Well,
think
no,
about it,
because
you're already set up now. You've already got pass keys. So they can recover a lot faster. It's all
right,
about
but from
protecting
what
their
I
bottom
understand
line,
is
too.
that if somebody has a breach and you're using passkeys, they will revoke the public part of that key, and everybody that has a passkey has to regenerate a passkey.
Then they're treating the security incorrect.
Yeah, that I haven't come across that yet.
You
I
know,
wouldn't see why they would need to. But
I
even
mean,
if they did, it wouldn't be
it's
that difficult.
right, but having a passkey is just having another piece of information because you already need a password and a username because you
But now
can't
you're
log into a
primed.
bank and just say, "Hey, I want to use passkeys."
I would think that once you get the passkey set up, you'd probably want to find some way to revoke or kill the password and
Yes.
just
Website
That's
That's the
websites.
goal. That's the goal.
Most websites don't do that, and banking
Not
uses
yet.
what's known as single device passkeys that can't be shared. So, God forbid, I have a passkey on my Mac and I lose my Mac, and that's the only device I have a passkey on. If I don't have a password, I lose that password because
No.
even one password will not sync. What they call SDC, single device credentials.
I think what we're looking at is a technology that's in flux.
It is. You're right.
I remember when these first came out, there were very few uh, sites that were even using passkeys. So what's the point of even using them if
Exactly.
you only use them for 5 or 6 sites? But that's changing. So
It's
this
changing very
is
quickly.
yeah, it's in flux. There will be a point where you won't be using passwords at all.
Exactly.
It's in transition. I guess that's the word I'm looking for.
Right. Right. You want to
if you-
use them because you'll be primed for when the transition does become complete. You want to have those pass keys in there and ready to go because eventually the sites are it might be years because it's taken a while. I mean, think about just how many passwords are out there. It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
But then by the time it does happen, you'll be ready. And when that bank says, we have now gotten rid of passwords, just use your pass key, you'll be ready to go. And you won't have to do anything except clear out your password.
Hey, could I ask Kevin a question about 1Password?
Sure. Go ahead, Gary.
Kevin, I have one. I've had it for a long time, and I mostly use it as kind of a place to store things. But you said, so when you go to a website, do you use 1Password to go
Yes.
to the website?
Well, no, I'll go to my website and then I have a button in my menu bar for one password. I click on that and then I press autofill and it fills in all the credentials.
Okay, I kind of do. Okay, so I go to a website and then So when I click on one password, either it's open or I open it originally, then you're saying you just click on what do you,
Autofill.
okay, and then it'll automatically know to go to one password and pick up that password.
Well, right? If the password is stored in one password,
You're right. It is.
right. Same thing with the passkey. If your passkey is stored in one
Yeah.
password, it'll give that passkey, but you have to invoke it within one
Well,
password.
yeah. Well, I don't, my one password or passkey is somehow saved. I'm using a Mac Mini. Um, and all I do then is put in my initial password when I log on to the computer. You know,
Right.
if I
Then
if I use XYZ, I would just type XYZ and then the password would go in. If Do you see where I'm stuck? Kind of.
yeah, okay. So here's one of, and I'm sorry, Melissa, but everybody has a different opinion. My opinion on passkeys right now, because it is not, I've read a lot of sites on security stuff, and say you have your iPhone and your Mac. Your Mac is on. Somebody goes to a website and you have a passkey stored on your Mac. Okay. That passkey will automatically load that website so you don't have to do anything. To me, that's a security risk. Storing it in one password gives you an extra layer of security on that passkey, but there's no difference in your workflow whether you're using a passkey or a password.
Wait, say that again. So you're on your Mac and someone else uses your Mac?
Say my Mac is left open. I walk out of the room and say you're here to visit me.
Okay,
If
well,
I
that's your first
had
problem.
99% of the people I knew do not lock their Mac every time they walk away when it's their Mac
That's a
at home.
compliance issue. That's the
Well,
first problem. But
You
go
know,
on. Yeah.
so like say with
yeah.
Gary, if he has his passkey in his Mac Mini and his Mac Mini is up and running and his grandkids come over the house and they're playing on his Mac Mini, they go to Amazon.com, boom, they're in his account. They don't need a password or anything like that. They
Because
could
he's
order
using Apple
stuff.
passwords.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying use a password manager, because it acts like a firewall between you and the platform.
Right.
Okay. Maybe I'll share. I mean, do we have time, Bob? Or not?
But
I would
Gary,
share
I would
my.
caution you, Gary, I would caution you, do not just type in URLs.
No, I'm
Find
gonna share my screen with my one password. Is that right?
Oh, I
And
wouldn't advise that you
I
do that.
wouldn't do that here only because this is going to be put
It's
in
being
public
recorded.
forum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to. Well, if I go to Amazon, for example, on my own, I have a link to go to Amazon. Then you're saying all I have to do is click on one autofill. Is that what?
There's a
Yeah,
one
that's
password
if
browser
one,
extension.
again, Amazon is probably a bad site to list
Well,
that
give
for
me
because Amazon lets you stay logged in it all the time.
yeah. Well,
Let's say Wells Fargo or your bank.
yeah. Okay.
When you go to your bank, you click on one password icon, you click autofill, it logs you in. There's no questions asked. Other than asking for your one password credentials. If you have a passkey for your bank, it's the same thing.
Well, what if you just use one password? Open one password. It's got this pen. I'm in Cleveland, but if I use this Easy Pass in Pennsylvania, it says open and fill. Maybe that would be the better way to go.
Well, what open and fill does is if you're at, say, google.com and you want to go to Wells Fargo, you type in inside of one password, Wells Fargo, you hit open and go. It opens up the website, fills in the information, and you're in. That's just a different way of using one password.
I'm going to try your way. Yeah, I'll try your way because I know how to do it. Maybe in one password, the open and fill. Thanks. Thanks, Melissa.
Melissa, I've got a question.
Yes, Gerald.
How how do I make a passkey? How do I know whether a website has a passkey? And how do I put a passkey to a website where I have a login created?
How do you know if a website has a passkey available?
Yeah. And
That's a great question.
how do I get
So you're using 1Password
using one
to get
password?
into it, right? So 1Password will tell you, because it detects that the website has a passkey available. It's they're registered with the FIDO Alliance, so they keep a database. And so when you go to that website, it'll pop up and say a passkey is available for this. Would you like to create one? And then you click that link right in 1Password, and it will take you to the correct URL where you can generate that passkey. So I've seen it happen both ways where, like, say, for example, Google, and this is where I kind of got burnt once. On Google, it'll say you can create a passkey. And so if you click that, it'll take you through the process, but that doesn't always work the best. I actually had better success when I just listened to 1Password and clicked it, and it took me right where I needed to go. I mean, it was like 2 clicks and I was done. And all it did, the only thing you have to remember is it will ask you, do you want to, and I don't know why it would really do this, I guess, unless you have multiple Google logins, but it'll ask you, do you want to update the existing login that you have for this, or do you want to create a new one? And so you want to update the existing one so that you just have that one entry that now will contain your email address, your username, your password, because you still have to have it for the time being because the future isn't here yet. And it will then insert right in there the new passkey, and you'll see that new little logo. It'll be purple, and you'll see that new little logo with the key and the person, and that will now show up in your 1Password database, and then you'll have a passkey. But the site has to have it available, and then either the site will notify you in the login process somewhere along the way, or your credential manager, in this case 1Password, will notify you. So that's how you'll know.
So if you go to
Does that help?
if you go to the Watchtower feature of
Yes.
1Password,
Thank you,
it will
John.
say you have some number of sites that have passkeys available.
That's
Oh,
true. That's a great point. Thank you. Yes,
I
that's a
didn't
good
know
one.
that.
what?
Jerry Gifford?
Help me out here. So everything, I have to have a pass key for everything that I want to get into, and that pass key is going to be kept on my computer. Is that right?
Are you going to use, have you made a decision? Are you going to use the Apple passwords built in? Or are you going to use a
I'm going to use
credential manager?
one password. I don't like
All
Apple
right.
passwords,
All right.
frankly.
Woohoo. Yep. Then, yep, you're good
In
to
fact, my
go.
wife just had a problem with that because she was trying to get into her medical records, and every time she'd get there and it'd say, "What's your password?" Apple would show their password, but it wasn't the right password. It wasn't
Yeah.
even the
That's
right,
what I was talking about, that conflict where
Okay,
one
so
overlaps
now
the other.
my real question is,
Yeah.
okay, so I've got all of these
Yep.
passkeys on my stored someplace on my computer. I'm assuming in some kind of an encrypted file or something.
Yep. It's encrypted in 1Password.
So
Mhm.
it's not possible for somebody to get that and take and do something with it, or
Nope.
no?
I mean,
Oh,
anything's possible when you put your mind to it, but not
how
easily.
do I will this be automatically accessed then if I want to go to my US bank account?
Mhm.
I'll type in usbank.com or something, and the computer then will offer the passkey to get into it.
What you should get in the habit of doing is using the password manager. So put the URL in the website URL field.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like Kevin was talking about earlier, and then they were having a discussion about that. You need to modify your behavior, okay? You need to change your workflow so that you're not going up to the search bar and typing in usbank.com, because that's dangerous, because hackers can spoof those websites and
Sure.
make them float up to the top of the search results, because cyber crime is a
How about bookmarks?
billion-dollar industry. So you get the correct URL from the bank itself, and you'll know that it's correct. And you put that in your password manager, because there's a field for everything. Remember, it's a database, right?
Okay, right.
So you fill out your database. You feed that thing. You feed that database every single piece of information, and then you use that. So you can use, there's a toolbar, there's a browser icon that you can click on, and then you can navigate to just type in US. It'll take you right there. You click it and let the password manager do the work for you so that you don't have to type anything. It will take you to the website, and then provided that you land on the login page, it should then automatically fill it in for you. That's the tricky part. And you're at the mercy of the website designers, and hopefully that they've coded the page properly so that it
Okay.
detects it, you know? So there's little tricks and tweaks and things. But what your wife is experiencing is what I was talking about earlier, where you have the two things competing with each other. So you have to go into your Mac settings, and you have to disable those things so that it doesn't get in the way, because that's what's making it circle the drain. Yeah, that's really
Oh, I
frustrating.
have a question for Gary. Are you using the 1Password in the browser or in Safari? In other words, do you have that little icon up there in the menu bar that Kevin was talking about?
Yeah, I do. And that opens it opened 1Password, and then I have to use the password to get into 1Password. Usually I open it, it
Oh,
opens
so you
when I
open
turn.
1Password and tell it you want it to stay open for a day, so you don't have to do that every time you.
No, yeah, I open 1Password in the morning when I turn the computer
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, what computer do you have?
I have a Mac Mini,
What
with
year?
a couple years old with an M1.
Do you have a keyboard with a biometric on
No,
it?
I don't have that.
That's one thing I would recommend getting.
Amen.
And the advantage for that is that you could use 1Password and have it set to lock after 10 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Because every time you click it, all you have to do is put your fingerprint on there.
I'll get it.
I have my demonstration 1Password vault open so that I don't have to worry about sharing anything personal. So I'll share my screen with you real
Thank
quick.
you.
And normally, I know you like to share screens, and normally I just can't do it because I'm not set up and I don't want to reveal personal information. But today, since I'm presenting, I do have it available. So
I didn't, the last time, Melissa, I didn't know where you were, and I'm only glad I met you. But, I know Bob and Chris. That's kind of how I ended up with wanting to be in Tucson instead of Cleveland today.
Well, so can everybody see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a demo vault here set up, and this was the demo that I was telling you about earlier that I'll paste into the chat then after we do this. So take a look at this. So this is the 1Password app, okay? So this is what, something similar to what yours would look like. And this is what I mean when I say this is what it looks like when it has a pass key stored inside of it. I'm zooming in, but I don't know if you can see that or not. Can you see that? No.
Can't see the zoom.
No, it still doesn't work. Okay. Last time we tried it, it didn't work. I wasn't sure if they updated it. So what I'm going to do here now is to see where it says, when I hover, it says open and fill. So I'm going to click that. And where do you think it's going to take me? See how it takes me right to the website? And I know that this is the correct place to be. And then look up here. See how it says sign in with passkey? All I do is click that and it'll sign me in and I'm logged in. Now, that's one way to do it. Here's another way to do it. Check this out. See this thing up here? This is the browser toolbar extension we've been talking about right here. So you have to enable that in your settings. In your 1Password settings, there's a browser for whatever browser you're using. We're doing Safari here. And so then I go and I click it and I click there. Same thing. Now I'm already, let me log out so I can show you that again.
Go back, will you?
Go back. Let me go back. Okay. All right. So let's say I wanted to go to that website, for example, and that was called Passkeys something. So I typed PASS in my search to get to it quickly. And I happen to know that it's this one. See, I've been messing around with this. See how when I hover, it says open and fill. So I'm going to click right here. It's going to take me to the correct site so that I know I didn't get spoofed by going to a fake website. And now it's presenting me with the ability to log in with a passkey. And up here in the corner is where 1Password presents it. I click it, it logs me in.
Yeah.
So the passkeys get stored in one password?
Will you go back to the first one, right? Melissa, how does one passkey get in that over to the right? The
This here?
second one. Yeah, how does that get there?
Okay, well, let's see if I can. All right, I'll try to see if I can demo it since I've already have one in there. Let me see if I delete this, because this is just a demonstration, so I'm okay with deleting it. So let's see if I can do this. Let me log out. I don't know if this will, if I go here and say,
Because you've
I need to
already
sign up
got
for
it
an
in,
account.
right? Yeah.
Right. Right, exactly. So, so for example, here are, I have a demonstration profile that's in my 1Password. So that's being filled in because I have this here. Okay, so you should have, everybody that's using 1Password should have a demonstration. I mean, sorry, not a demonstration. You should have your own profile filled out. And so I just have this, I just have a fake email put in there just so you can see what pops up. So when I click that, that's where that's coming from. Okay. So let's pretend, for example, that was my email address. It's not, but just for the sake of this.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this because it's not a real email, but let's just see what happens. So I'm going to click continue. And then it's going to, yep, see, there it is. I'm going to say select a vault. So I'm going to say, I have multiple vaults. You might not. I'm going to tell it to save it in there. Okay. See, now it has there. See how it has that there? And I've saved it. Now I'm going to go back to 1Password, go to my login section, and there it is. So see, that's how it ended up there.
But Melissa, you deleted your Mac Mommy at your Melissa at MacMommy.com one.
Yep.
Okay. Say for example,
Turns
you
out
lost.
I didn't need to do that. I just did it so that it would make
Right, but say you lost that passkey. Can you recreate a new passkey with that email address?
Let's try it and see. So, because I don't care about this one, let's just see what happens. So I'm going to delete it. And let's say if I logged out, so let's pretend, so I deleted it for good, right? And
Okay.
I said that I needed to create a new account, I guess. So I'm going to sign up with a new account, but this time I'm going to type in my real address. And that hopefully be able to spell it correctly. Oh, nope. Can anybody spell anything correctly live? Okay. And then continue. Yep. So that's what happens. So it's already taken.
So if this was a situation where you only had a passkey and you lost your device with the passkey on it.
If I lost my device, I would just go get a new device and sign into 1Password and download it.
Right, but what about it? What if this was a device specific passkey?
I wouldn't do that.
You'll have to
because I'm the Mac
discuss
mommy. I wouldn't do that.
You have to determine what the
Yeah.
recovery mechanism that the site has set up.
Right. Yeah. You
Yeah,
gotta think.
because like as I said, a lot of banks use device specific.
What kind of device are we talking about?
An iPhone, a Mac computer, something like that.
Well, then again, you should be using a password manager where if that happened and your phone took a dunk in the river, you should be able to go get a brand new phone and log into it again and re-download that
One
passkey.
password will not sync device specific passkeys.
So you're saying it's connected to the hardware, kind of like your Touch ID?
Right, like my credit union when
What
I
bank
log in
does
on
that?
well, Pentagon Federal Credit Union is the latest one that I've been having problems with because you have to get a passkey for each device. And in
Hardware?
1Password, it has a passkey for Mac, password for iPhone. So I actually have to select which one.
So they're telling you that you could never lose that iPhone. So what happens when you get a new iPhone?
I got a password and a two-factor authentication. I've got to log in and create a new passkey.
But like you
Okay.
said, they let you create two device-specific passwords, right? One for your iPhone and one for your Mac.
Right.
So that means as long as you don't lose both of them at the same time, you can still
or
get
you
into
still have
your
access to your password and your username.
Right. So if you buy a car and you drive it off the lot and you get home then you know that you're responsible for those car keys. If you lose those car keys, there's a big consequence to losing those car keys, isn't there? So this is
Sure.
not any different than that. It's human behavior. You have to be a responsible digital citizen. That's what it really boils down to. It's not any different than buying a car and being given a set of key fobs. You can't lose them, or you're going to have to pay dearly for it.
I understand that, but what I'm saying in a situation like that, using a pass key, there's really, until pass keys are perfected, I've looked at pass keys as harder to use. At least the sites that I've logged into, they've been harder to use than just using a password.
That's fine. That's fine for you to think that. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. This is just for everybody to be educated on. So keep on using your passwords.
There is one angle that I haven't heard anybody address yet, and that is that yeah, it can be the case that using a pass key is no better than using a password as far as the use is concerned. But I wonder about the cryptographic security of things. I if I understand passkeys correctly, I like their perspective cryptographic security a little better than the
Password.
that goes on with the password.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good
Yes.
point.
A lot. They're a lot safer because there's a lot more that goes into them because, like I said, everything's all baked
Yeah,
in.
it's one thing to say, oh, gee, I don't like them because they are more difficult to use or they're no easier to use. But if you get a security payoff from using them, then that needs to be talked about and factored into your deliberations.
Yeah, risk versus
I
benefits
think that's a good
analysis.
point, Jerry.
Mhm.
So
Good point.
where did you say you could see which which websites I have on my password manager have passkeys available?
And the watchtower.
Oh, okay.
So that's up in one password under
I found that.
settings, I think, somewhere. It's not a place I go enough. I should go there more.
Got it.
Got it?
Okay, let's close this out
It's
and
fascinating
get to the
discussion.
part that everybody
Yeah.
wants, which is Melissa, will you ask
Oh,
your
yeah.
S lady to pick a number between 1 and 26?
1 and 26. Hey Siri, pick a random number between 1 and 26. 3.
3 is Jerry Gifford.
All right.
And since he has not won in the last 6 months,
Anytime.
he is eligible for the monthly door prize.
Yay.
Find his name in the list here.
Aren't you glad you came?
Listen, I've been coming to these meetings for a long time and just probably within the last 6 or 10 months, I've really started to understand what there is to learn here. And that's
Great.
why I keep showing up every month as much as I can.
Great.
Wonderful.
Jerry, I'll send you the gift certificate or the Apple gift card tomorrow.
Okay.
Now, before we close it out, Bob Doms has put in the chat that there is a problem with the link to go to the
Questionnaire.
the survey, and he's going to try to work that out. And when he does, he'll put that link into the TMUG Talk so we can all do it later.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
we're going to close it for this evening, and we will see you again next month.
Good meeting, guys.
Yes, very
Okay.
good.
Thank you,
All right.
Melissa.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Really.
Save the chat.
Melissa, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Yay.
Okay.
Bye.
Good
Now
night,
everybody know a
everybody.
little bit more about passkeys now. Don't forget to do your
Way
homework.
more, about 20 times more at least.
Did you download the files before you log out?
Where are the files?
In the chat.
Do I want the one that says sign up in it, or
That's a link to that demo that I just showed you if you want to play around with it.
okay?
That's for good practice. So I encourage you to click that one. And then there's 2 PDF files that I put in there that have a whole bunch of links on them to get you started learning
Well,
about
those aren't the
passkeys.
PDF files you put in there in the beginning, are they?
In the beginning, did you grab those already?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay. So, and
So
Melissa, you're going to put
is there
that
a way for us to
into,
save this chat so we can have those links someplace?
And Bob's going to save it too, and then we'll put it in groups.io.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
good
Appreciate
night,
it.
everybody.
Good
Good
night.
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 Take care, guys.